If you've been starting seeds for a while, especially if you've been using plastic, or if you're brand new to seed starting, you might be wondering whether or not soil blocks make more sense than plastic. And I get a lot of questions about that, especially lately. And it usually comes down to which system is better. But this video will talk about that, but not so much in that context of which is better, but more about the benefits and the trade-offs of each system so that you have the information that you need to make an educated decision to know which system is best for your needs. For decades, I was fully in the plastic cell tray camp, and that's what the industry standard was, and for good reason. Plastic trays are accessible, affordable, and incredibly versatile, and whether you're starting a dozen plants or several thousand trays, they scale easily. Now today, one of the biggest advancements and enhancements in the horticulture industry with the use of the plastic trays are these long-term use trays. I call them perpetual trays, and they are designed to last for years or decades or maybe even your lifetime with proper care. But you can tell these are super hard. You can drive trucks over these or whatever. They can take a lot of abuse, but they're very productive, and they're designed to hopefully replace single-use plastic. These type of trays, we're all familiar with these. They're very ubiquitous, but they're not intended to last more than a year. Now, I try to save these and get them to last as long as possible because I don't want to put them in the landfill. So to the extent that plastic waste is still a thing in the horticulture industry related to the plastic in use for these cell trays, yeah, that's still a thing, but hopefully it's reducing because of this long-term use plastic. Now, you can outfit an entire seed starting setup with single-use plastic trays. I've done it for a fraction of the cost of large-scale soil blocking tools, especially for the beginners because trays offer the lowest barrier to entry. And yes, these perpetual use plastic trays do cost quite a bit more up front than your single-use plastic, but this is a one-time investment, so you pay for it up front, and just like with soil blocking equipment, you get your money back over time. Now, another advantage of using plastic trays is the moisture retention, because when you're using those, you've got plastic around all four sides going down to the solid tray. So here you can see that the only exposure for evaporation is at the surface. So even when it's on a heat mat and there's light overhead, there's still protection on the sides versus the soil blocks where they have exposure on all sides. That's going to dry it out faster. So that's going to be a little trickier to keep hydrated versus the plastic. Probably the biggest trade-off with using plastic, and I don't miss this one bit, is the fact that if you're going to reuse these more than a year, even the single use or the perpetual use, best practices says it's a very good idea to clean and sanitize these, whether it's a few trays or a lot to scale like I do. But the fact of the matter is, this is a very labor-intensive process that takes a lot of time, especially with cell trays like this where you have to get in there and make sure that you eliminate all the debris and the stuff that accumulates on there. It's easy to do, and obviously I'm not a big fan of it, even though I know how important it is. Clearly I haven't done that yet, so that's a project waiting to be done, and frankly I'm not looking forward to it. Okay, so now let's shift the discussion to soil blocking, and I've known about that practice for a very long time. In fact, years ago I had the chance to visit Eliot Coleman, whom I call the king of soil blocking, on his farm in Maine. And he makes thousands of soil blocks every year. And one morning I got to hang out with him in his high tunnel making those soil blocks. And I was able to see how many of those he can make in a relatively short period of time, but it still took time because he was using soil blocks that were smaller than this. So you can imagine how much time that took, and I didn't have it. So I didn't jump in right away after leaving Eliot's place to start making a lot of soil blocks. Years passed, and then in the past few years, everything changed with the invention of what's called a swift blocker. So this is a soil blocking piece of equipment that can make, in this case, 72 soil blocks, just like you see here, in a single pass, which is a huge game saver and exactly what I needed because of the time crunch. So now I'm able to do that. And not only will these make 72, this one's specifically designed for just that, but you can buy them that make 50, 90, 128, 200 cells. So kind of the opportunities are wide open at this point to make a lot of blocks at scale. And that was exactly the thing that helped me cross the line into using the soil blocks. I had always wanted to do it, but time was the biggest hurdle, and this solved that problem. Now, one of the biggest horticultural advantages with soil blocks is their ability to air prune. So what is air pruning? Well, that's what happens when the roots grow to the edge of the block and they hit air, they stop growing. Now, in the case when they're in direct contact with the next soil block, they'll grow into that block. But the premise is, once the roots hit the edge, they stop growing, and rather than continuing to grow like in a plastic cell tray where they have nowhere to go, so they keep growing roots in a circular pattern, potentially girdling the root ball, with air pruning, they stimulate internal branching. And then when the root branches get to the edge of the soil block, they basically stop because they're air pruned. So once the roots come in contact with soil again, they take off running. Now, in all fairness, with some of the makers of perpetual use seed starting trays, some do mimic air pruning, like with these windstrip trays. They have slits on all four sides, which allows air into the root ball. And so that definitely mimics some of the same things that air pruning does because the air is hitting the roots. And so when you are transplanting, the key benefit to air pruning is that it translates into reduced transplant shock and faster establishment, and that happens most efficiently with soil blocks. You simply lift the block and place it into your transplant pot or into the ground, then you backfill, and there's no root disturbance and no lost time to recovering from the transplanting shock because that's not a thing with soil blocks. And then there's another thing about soil blocking that I consider a huge advantage and very important, and that is the process when you're making the mix that goes into the soil block. That's when you're mixing the water with the dry into this slurry, gooey, delicious mess that is actually what makes the soil block. And maybe it's a me thing, but it's just very zen, and I really enjoy that part of the process. So even though it takes some extra time, the time is well worth it. Now, that said, one of the biggest challenges with soil blocks is getting the soil moisture just right when you're mixing the water into the dry media so that the blocks hold together when they're ejected from the soil block maker. Not enough water and they crumble, and too much water and they might just slip out of the molds and not hold their shape. But sooner or later you get it, and then it's easy. I've covered the mixing part of soil blocking in a recent video that you can watch here. Speaking of getting the moisture right, we already know that soil blocks dry out faster than plastic cell trays. So once your blocks are made and the seeds are sown, you will probably be spending most of your time during the entire soil blocking process making sure that the moisture is right. That's where I find I'm spending most of my time because you don't want it to dry out, and at the same time, you don't want them to carry too much water. So you need to keep an eye on that way more than you would with the plastic cell trays. Now, in the overall picture, many growers, including myself, will use both soil blocks and plastic trays depending on the objective, such as with soil blocks, if you're looking for efficient root development and then at transplant time, the plants are taking off because there's no loss with transplant shock, well, the soil blocks make a lot of sense. And certainly from the environmental footprint where you're not using single-use plastic, there is no plastic with soil blocks, so definitely an advantage there. Now with plastic, if you're trying to save time and money on the front end, well, that makes more sense because you can get the job done usually much faster at scale. And then the other thing is that there's greater water retention with the use of plastic. But the bottom line is it's not either or, it's just depending on what works best based on what your objectives are. To be clear, both systems can produce exceptional results. So it's not a matter of abandoning one system for the other because both can work beautifully. It really comes down to just understanding what your objectives are and then finding the best system that works for you and your budget and what you're trying to produce. But the bottom line is the same no matter what, producing the best seedlings possible. And I hope you found this video helpful, but if you have any questions or comments, please leave those below and I'll be sure to get back to you. And thanks for watching.